You think you're just grabbing a quick bite from Taco Bell? But what if that Crunchwrap Supreme isn't as innocent as it looks? What if the ingredient list reads more like a chemistry textbook than a recipe? And what if the truth about how your food gets from factory floor to drive-thru bag is more shocking than a packet of fire sauce? Buckle up, because today we're peeling back the wrapper on one of America's most popular fast food chains. From questionable ingredient sourcing and industrial prep methods to health inspection nightmares that never make the headlines, this is the investigation Taco Bell probably hopes you never watch. Now, let's be clear, this isn't about food shaming. I've demolished my fair share of late-night gorditas too. This is about transparency. If you're spending hard-earned money on food, you deserve to know what you're actually getting. And here's why it matters. Taco Bell serves over 42 million customers every single week. That's nearly 1 in 8 Americans. Statistically, someone you know ate there this week, maybe even today. Yet most customers have no idea what's really happening behind those purple and black walls. For weeks, I dug into health department reports, combed through ingredient lists, and spoke with former employees. What I uncovered was a consistent pattern: corners cut, standards stretched, and practices that raise serious questions about quality and safety. Some findings might surprise you, others might flat out disturb you. I'm not here to tell you never to eat Taco Bell again. I'm here to arm you with the facts, so the next time you roll up to that glowing bell at midnight, you'll know exactly what you're getting. Let's start with something that might seem harmless but tells a bigger story. Those perfectly uniform grill marks you see on Taco Bell's grilled chicken. You know, those dark lines that make it look like it was freshly prepared on an actual grill. Well, here's the thing. They're not from a grill. Those marks are applied at a processing facility, stamped onto the meat like a quality control sticker, then frozen and shipped to restaurants. Your grilled chicken never touched a grill. It's reheated in what's essentially a hot water bath. But that's just the beginning. Let's talk about what happens when your order gets placed. You might imagine a kitchen full of cooks preparing fresh ingredients, chopping vegetables, seasoning meat, cooking rice. The reality is quite different. Most Taco Bell locations operate more like food assembly lines than traditional kitchens. The beef arrives in sealed plastic bags and gets heated in boiling water. The beans start as dehydrated flakes that get mixed with hot water, kind of like making instant mashed potatoes. Even the rice is pre-cooked at a facility and just gets reheated on site. This isn't necessarily illegal or even unusual in the fast food industry, but it raises questions about freshness and quality that most customers never think to ask. When you're paying for food, are you getting what you expect? Or are you paying restaurant prices for what's essentially reheated factory food? And speaking of those factories, let's dive into where your Taco Bell ingredients actually come from. The supply chain for major fast food operations is a complex web of processing facilities, distribution centers, and third-party manufacturers. Your average Taco Bell location receives most of its ingredients from massive industrial food processors. These facilities prioritize efficiency and shelf stability over the kind of freshness you might expect from a restaurant. Take the cheese, for example. That melted nacho cheese that's become synonymous with the brand doesn't start as actual cheese in most cases. It begins as a powder mixture that includes cheese solids, but also a cocktail of preservatives, emulsifiers, and artificial flavors designed to create that signature taste and texture. The goal isn't to replicate fresh cheese. It's to create a consistent product that can survive shipping, storage, and the heating process without breaking down. But here's where things get really interesting. The way these ingredients are processed and prepared creates opportunities for contamination that most customers never consider. When food travels through multiple facilities, gets processed multiple times, and sits in storage for extended periods, the chances for something to go wrong multiply significantly. Health department inspection reports from Taco Bell locations across the country paint a concerning picture. We're talking about violations that range from improper food storage temperatures to cross-contamination between raw and cooked ingredients. In some cases, inspectors have found evidence of pest activity in food preparation areas. One report I reviewed documented mouse droppings near food storage containers. Another cited improper hand-washing procedures among staff during busy periods. These aren't isolated incidents happening at one or two problem locations. These are patterns that show up in inspection reports from coast to coast. And while most violations get corrected after they are identified, the fact that they happen so frequently raises questions about the systems and training in place to prevent them. Let's talk about temperature control, which is absolutely critical for food safety. Dangerous bacteria like E. coli and Salmonella thrive in what food safety experts call the danger zone, temperatures between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Food that sits in this range for too long becomes a health risk. Multiple inspection reports have cited Taco Bell locations for keeping food at unsafe temperatures, sometimes during peak service hours when hundreds of meals are being prepared. The reheating process that defines so much of Taco Bell's food preparation creates additional risks. When you're reheating pre-cooked ingredients multiple times, you're creating more opportunities for bacteria to grow if temperatures aren't maintained properly. And with the high turnover rate typical in fast food, training on proper food handling procedures doesn't always keep pace with staffing changes. Now, let's shift gears and talk about what's actually in your food. I'm not just talking about the major ingredients listed on the menu. I'm talking about the long list of additives, preservatives, and processing aids that most customers never see. These ingredients serve important functions in industrial food production, but they're worth understanding if you're making informed choices about what to eat. Consider the seasoned beef that forms the foundation of so many Taco Bell menu items. While the company markets it as 100% USDA beef, that beef actually makes up only about 88% of the final product. The remaining 12% consists of what the industry calls non-meat ingredients. We're talking about things like maltodextrin, which helps bind everything together, soy lecithin, which prevents separation, and various spices and flavorings designed to create that distinctive Taco Bell taste. These additives aren't necessarily dangerous, but they represent a fundamental shift in how we think about meat. When you order a beef taco, you might expect beef. What you're getting is beef plus a carefully engineered mixture of ingredients designed to create a consistent product that can survive the industrial food system. The same principle applies to virtually every ingredient on the menu. The tomatoes in your taco aren't just tomatoes. They're tomatoes that have been treated with preservatives to extend shelf life. The lettuce isn't just lettuce, it's lettuce that's been washed in chlorine solutions and treated with anti-browning agents to maintain appearance during shipping and storage. But here's what makes this story even more complex. The drive to create consistent, shelf-stable products has led to innovations in food science that push the boundaries of what we traditionally consider food. Some of these innovations are impressive from a technical standpoint. Others raise questions about whether we're moving too far away from natural ingredients in pursuit of convenience and profit. The engineering behind Taco Bell's flavor profiles goes deeper than most people realize. Food scientists don't just throw ingredients together and hope for the best. They're working with something called the bliss point, that exact combination of salt, sugar, fat, and texture that triggers your brain's reward system. It's the same neurological pathway that lights up when you win at gambling or get likes on social media. Your crunch wrap isn't just satisfying your hunger, it's delivering a carefully calculated hit of dopamine. This isn't accidental. Teams of food scientists spend months perfecting these formulations, testing different ratios until they find the combination that keeps you coming back. The goal isn't just to make food that tastes good, it's to make food that creates cravings, food that you think about days after eating it, food that becomes harder and harder to resist. Think about how Taco Bell markets their limited time offers. The Mexican pizza comes back for a few months, generates massive buzz, then disappears again. The nacho fries follow the same pattern. This isn't poor planning or supply chain issues, this is psychological manipulation disguised as marketing strategy. They're creating artificial scarcity to trigger fear of missing out, driving customers to purchase before items disappear again. And it works brilliantly. People don't just buy these items, they stockpile them. They drive to multiple locations, they post about them on social media, creating free advertising that reaches millions of potential customers. Taco Bell has turned eating into an event, a social media moment, a shared experience that goes far beyond simple nutrition. But while customers are caught up in the excitement of limited edition menu items, something more concerning is happening behind the scenes. The industrial food system that makes all of this possible operates on a scale that most people can't even comprehend. We're talking about facilities that process millions of pounds of ingredients every single day, shipping products to thousands of locations across multiple time zones. At this scale, quality control becomes a massive challenge. A single contaminated batch of ingredients can affect hundreds of restaurants before anyone realizes there's a problem. And when issues do occur, tracing them back to their source becomes incredibly complex. Was it the processing facility, the transportation, the storage, the preparation at the restaurant level? The more steps in the supply chain, the more opportunities for something to go wrong. Recent food safety incidents in the fast food industry illustrate just how quickly problems can spread. One contaminated shipment of lettuce can shut down locations across multiple states. A processing facility with inadequate sanitization procedures can create health risks for millions of customers before anyone identifies the source. The speed at which Taco Bell operates makes these risks even more concerning. During peak hours, some locations serve hundreds of customers per hour. That's orders coming in faster than traditional food safety protocols were designed to handle. When you're trying to get food out the door every 30 seconds, corners get cut. Hand washing gets rushed, temperature checks get skipped, cross-contamination becomes more likely. Former employees I spoke with described working conditions that prioritize speed above almost everything else. Management tracks drive-through times down to the second. Bonuses and performance reviews depend on meeting aggressive speed targets. When your job depends on getting orders out fast, food safety procedures can start to feel like obstacles rather than necessities. And here's something most customers never consider. The people preparing your food are often earning minimum wage with minimal benefits and little job security. High turnover means new employees are constantly being trained, often by other employees who themselves have limited experience. The institutional knowledge that comes from experienced staff gets lost when people are constantly leaving for better opportunities. This creates a perfect storm of conditions that make food safety incidents more likely. Inexperienced staff working under intense time pressure with minimal supervision, handling ingredients that have already traveled through a complex supply chain. It's not that individual employees don't care about doing good work. It's that the system they're working within makes mistakes almost inevitable. The financial incentives driving the entire operation also create perverse outcomes. Taco Bell's business model depends on keeping food costs as low as possible while maintaining consistent taste and appearance. This drives decisions about sourcing, processing, and preparation that prioritize cost savings over quality or safety. When you can save a fraction of a cent per serving by switching to a different supplier or processing method, that adds up to millions of dollars across the entire chain. These savings get passed on to shareholders and executives, while customers bear the hidden costs in terms of reduced nutritional value and increased health risks. But perhaps the most troubling aspect of this entire system is how effectively it's been normalized. Most customers have no idea how their food is actually made. They see the marketing images of fresh ingredients and assume that's what they're getting. They trust that regulatory agencies are ensuring safety and quality. They believe that paying restaurant prices means getting restaurant-quality food. The reality is that regulatory oversight in the food industry operates on a complaint-driven basis. Inspections happen after problems are reported, not as prevention. And the standards for what constitutes acceptable risk in industrial food production are far more lenient than most consumers would expect if they understood the details. Meanwhile, the marketing machinery keeps promoting the illusion of freshness and quality. Television commercials show ingredients that look nothing like what actually ends up in your food. Social media campaigns focus on taste and convenience, while completely ignoring questions about how that taste is achieved or what that convenience actually costs. The disconnect between perception and reality in fast food has become so complete that most customers would be genuinely shocked to see how their meals are actually prepared. The sterile factory environments, the chemical additives, the reheating processes, the time food spends in storage, all of this happens completely out of sight of the people who ultimately consume the products. This brings us to something even more concerning that most people never think about. The psychological impact of eating highly processed food goes beyond just physical health. When your brain gets used to those engineered flavor combinations, real food starts tasting bland by comparison. A home-cooked taco with fresh ingredients suddenly seems boring. Your taste buds have been trained to expect that artificial intensity, It's like turning up the volume on your music so loud that normal conversation sounds like whispering. Taco Bell's food scientists have essentially turned up the volume on flavor, using salt, sugar, and fat combinations that don't exist in nature. Your palate gets recalibrated to expect these extreme tastes, making it harder to appreciate subtler, more natural flavors. This creates a cycle where processed food becomes more appealing than whole foods. Kids who grow up eating fast food often struggle with vegetables and fruits because they taste too mild compared to the hyper-intense flavors they're used to. Adults find themselves craving specific combinations that only exist in processed foods, making it harder to maintain a balanced diet even when they want to. The economic implications of this go far deeper than just individual food choices. When millions of people become dependent on processed foods, it shifts agricultural priorities away from producing nutritious whole foods toward growing commodity crops for industrial processing. Farmers stop growing diverse vegetables and focus on corn and soy that will be turned into additives and fillers. This creates a feedback loop where healthy food becomes more expensive and harder to find, while processed food becomes cheaper and more convenient. Food deserts in urban areas often have multiple fast food chains, but no grocery stores selling fresh produce. For many families, places like Taco Bell aren't just convenient options, they're the most accessible sources of calories in their neighborhoods. But accessibility comes with hidden costs that don't show up on the menu. The long-term health impacts of regularly consuming highly processed foods include increased risks of diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. These conditions don't develop overnight. They build up gradually over years of poor nutrition. By the time symptoms appear, the damage is often irreversible. Healthcare systems end up bearing the costs of treating diet-related diseases, costs that get passed on to everyone through higher insurance premiums and taxes. What looks like a cheap meal on an individual level becomes expensive when you account for the broader social and economic impacts. The environmental costs are equally significant but even less visible. Industrial food production requires massive amounts of water, energy, and chemical inputs. The packaging alone generates millions of tons of waste every year. Transportation networks move ingredients and finished products across thousands of miles, burning fossil fuels and contributing to climate change. Meanwhile, the marketing continues to present fast food as harmless fun. Celebrity endorsements, social media campaigns, and sponsorship deals with sports teams all work to normalize the consumption of highly processed foods. The messaging focuses on taste, convenience, and value, while completely ignoring the broader implications of supporting these systems. Young people are especially targeted because brand loyalty formed early tends to last for decades. Getting someone hooked on your products in high school means potentially having a customer for life. The earlier someone starts eating processed food regularly, the more their taste preferences and eating habits get shaped around these products. So there you have it. The truth behind that purple bell logo isn't as appetizing as the marketing makes it seem. From factory-processed ingredients masquerading as fresh food to health inspection violations that happen more often than you'd expect, your late-night crunch wrap comes with risks you probably never considered. I'm not telling you to never eat there again, but you deserve to know what you're actually paying for. Knowledge is power, and now you've got the facts to make informed choices about where your money and your health are concerned.